Hello, and welcome to The Kosh. I'm your host, Timber Smith, and The Kosh is a podcast that spotlights people who've had an association with The Kosh and the surrounding Fox Cities area. Also, this episode of The Kosh is sponsored by Sturgeon Spirits Craft Distillery, The Kosh's newest tradition. And let me just say one more thing about that. If you don't know, Sturgeon Spirits has a new cocktail on the menu, and this cocktail is known as the Kosh. Yes, we have finally made the Kosh. We made the menu. I am super excited about that. You do not understand how excited I am about this. This was definitely a wonderful thing. And I'll explain real quickly. I got an opportunity to go to Sturgeon Spirits 1 year anniversary yesterday and stopped in there, and I love going there. It's my cheers. It's my happy space. It's my church, as y'all know, as I like to refer to it. And I get in there, and I'm actually in there with my daughter and her fiance and my wife. And she visits my daughter. And so she scans the menu and she goes, "Hey, Dad, there's a drink called the Kosh on the menu. You have anything to do with that?" I was like, it happened. It finally happened, and it happened. So let me just say, how excited am I about that? That excited. So once again, to my friends over there at Sturgeon Spirits, thank you so much. All right. Well, we're going to get ready to jump in here pretty quick. I am really, really excited about today's guest. I can't even tell you. It's going to be a fire conversation. We're going to get to cover a lot of different things. I'm not quite sure where this trip is going to go, but we're going to take a ride together, and this is going to be awesome. And this is just another great opportunity for you as the Kosh listeners to meet another amazing member of our community. But more importantly, you know what I'm going to say. I don't know why. I continue to get these amazing, amazing guests here on the Kosh, and this week is no different. So without further ado, this week's guest is Carmen Leal. Did I get that right?
Carmen Leal.
Leal. Okay. See, I would have put a little hyphen in there or something. That's my own phonetics. Hey, Carmen, how are we doing this morning?
I am fantastic. I love your energy.
Oh, yeah.
But you made a tactical error.
Oh, what's that?
You did not tell us what is in the Kosh.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna. See, I want people to go look.
Okay.
You got to leave some mystery.
It is a fun place. They hosted our Rotary for a little social event.
Yeah.
We had a blast. Yeah.
There's just a vibe about it. The fact that it's truly, there's no TV. So you're gonna have to engage.
Yes, you do.
People got to talk.
Yeah.
And everybody's super friendly.
Aren't they? Yeah.
And it feels like, what I really love about it, it has this really cool industrial laboratory feel.
It does.
And so that
you've gone back and gone on the tour, and
I have not asked Carl for a tour yet.
Oh, he loves doing it. Please do.
Oh, I might have to.
Please do. Yeah, we did that last night. It was fun.
Carl, if you're listening to this, I need a tour.
Oh, he'll give you one. That's his happy place, is doing that tour.
Oh, no doubt.
Showing off. This is how I spent the money.
Oh, facts. It's a wonderful place.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Carmen, you ready to jump in?
I am always ready.
Okay. Can you please share a little something about yourself and your association here with the Kosh and the surrounding Fox Cities area?
I sure will. Effective next week, March the 8th, I will have lived here for 7 years.
Oh.
I know. So we're there. Our anniversary's coming up.
Nice.
Time flies whether you're having fun or not. No, I usually have fun. But I moved here from Honolulu, Hawaii. And so people say, Hawaii, why? And I go, brain damage. They go, yeah. And I go, no, really. And then they get all serious. So the story is, I was living dream life, dream job, happily ever after. After all of my life struggles, I had made it back where I belong, where my people are. It was perfect until a day home from the beach. And we were at the stoplight. Someone smacked into us with a giant SUV. We hit another SUV, 2 more cars, 5-car pileup. Knew it was at 10. Car was destroyed, and so was I. Didn't know it at the time, but I had a moderate traumatic brain injury. I have my last surgery on my eye next month, hopefully. I'm going to keep saying last. But my cell phone, I was a passenger texting for an address, and my hand flew up and the phone hit me in the head. So think blunt force trauma on
Ooh,
top of the whiplash.
yeah.
And I've had a headache since June 18th of 2015. It used to be level 10. It's usually down to 4 or 5. I've learned to function. I was so depressed. I was suicidal. I struggled for 2 years, not wanting to live. And I'm a really upbeat, happy person. I don't get depressed. So this was not me. It really came down to I have 3 different outcomes in life. I will get arrested because I work with people, and I will hurt someone because they stupid. You know, I worked in tourism, selling stuff. Okay. You know you want to hurt someone when a guest literally said this. Why did they move Pearl Harbor so far away from Waikiki?
Bruh.
And I'm supposed to not respond to headache. Option number 2, I'm going to get fired because of my mouth. Option number 3, I will kill myself. And option number 3 seemed the easiest and the smartest. And so I could not sustain life if I did not work. I made more than my husband. So I said, if I can't live where I want to live, we will live where my son lives. He married a girl from Wisconsin. His first big boy job was in Oshkosh. No research whatsoever except where am I going to live in a house? And we landed. Never move from Hawaii to Wisconsin in March.
Oh, no.
It was really poor timing, but we are here, and I did not kill myself. My doctor back home kept saying, get a dog. I said, I don't do dogs. I can't even keep myself alive. I don't know dog. He kept pestering me, get a dog, get a dog. Finally got here. There, as we call it in screenwriting, there was an inciting incident that caused me to finally say, I will. A dog wasn't going to work, but my husband wanted a dog. So I thought I will get the dog. And then when I kill myself, my husband will have a dog. That was my theory. You can tell how broken I was.
Yes.
But we went to New Possibilities when they used to be open on Algoma because they were the only people open that day. I wasn't getting a dog that day, but I came home with the dog.
Of course you did.
The dog that literally saved my life. And everybody in life needs a purpose.
Yes.
And I knew I didn't want a job anymore, but I knew I needed to do something. So as my way of saying thank you, as I started to heal, I started volunteering. My background is all in marketing and sales. Animal wellness people, for the most part, are great at animals, and they kind of aren't great at people, and they're really not great at business. And so they're always striving to do more with less, not knowing how to do it. But that's my superpower. So I began writing the bios and doing grants and doing events and getting the word out. And in the 4 years I helped them before they closed after COVID, I wrote bios for and found homes for 6,500 dogs.
What?
65. I have them all. I have all the bios in my computer. 6,500 dogs.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. It gave me shivers.
But I'm not a dog person, right? And so it's really funny. I do a lot of podcasts for a lot of different reasons. And the one thing I get asked is, that's so amazing. You went from being a dog hater to being an animal activist. I go, I wasn't a dog hater. I just didn't want one.
Right.
And I'm not an animal activist. I'm my dog's activist. But I do what I do because there are other people like me. There are those vets with PTSD. There are autistic kids. There are suicidal women. There is a host of people that would benefit from a dog.
Oh, yeah.
And if we as a nation, as a community, continue to kill our dogs because they are inconvenient, then when people like me need a dog, I'm going to have to go to a breeder and spend $5,000 I don't have.
Right.
So I don't do it for the dogs. The dogs are the beneficiary. I do it for the people who need the dogs, and it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
So during my 7 years here, I did that, and then I finally thought, I'm just going to write a book. I'm going to write a book and sell the book, and I can always have money to give away. And that's what I do. So I wrote a book called I Chose You, Imperfectly Perfect Rescue Dogs and Their Humans. And I sell it, and I give away lots of money. It's really fun. I've given away $5,000 so far from the first book.
Oh,
Second book comes out soon. So, but I always believe wherever you live, you need to invest in your community. So that's what I do. Your listeners have probably seen my name on 100 million Facebook posts. You know you're from Oshkosh, support Oshkosh, because I do restaurant reviews and company reviews and opinion pieces. And I just need to invest. I'm in my Rotary, which is a service group. I garden. I hate gardening more than I hated dogs. Not hated, but but got to make beauty. So that's what I do. I'm here and I'm going to read something.
okay.
Then we'll move on. This is the intro to that first book I talked about. And it just sums up not just my life, but all of our lives. Because have you ever said, I'm never going to?
Oh, well, yeah.
Right.
Everybody says that.
Everybody says it. So my life is full of never statements. I will never kiss a boy. I will never get married. I will never forgive for what he did. I will never get married again or again. I will never live in the Midwest again. I will never own a dog. I will never, ever write another book. When a person says he or she will never do something again, someone typically chimes in with the idiom, never say never. And maybe people are prone to changing their minds. I think more often than not, in the course of living, things happen. It could be the choices we make or the actions of others that put us on a radically different path than we plan. And those never statements come back to laugh in our faces. This is a book about never saying never. Life happening and dogs. It's mostly about dogs, but it's also a book of stories rooted in my life and my journey to this weird place of being married, living in the Midwest, having a dog, writing about thousands more dogs, and somehow being mostly okay with never somehow becoming forever. We become mostly okay with never becoming our forever when we are rooted in our community. When we take the gifts and talents that God or whoever has put in us, because we already were born with everything we have, everything we need for life is in us. We just got to data mine it, right?
Facts.
So when we become part of our community, that if we were to leave, our community would be that much less. Then we become okay with our nevers becoming our forevers. And that is the same for your listeners.
Facts.
Yep.
Carmen, when I'll tell you how I think this is funny and brings it full circle in a way, is when I told my wife, I was like, because she always asks me who's coming over, and I'm not gonna lie, that I usually know the guests, but I don't always know my guests that well. Know of them, or maybe not, because sometimes they're recommended to me and stuff, and so I meet them for the first time. But I said, Carmen's coming by, and she's like, who's Carmen? And she's like, is that the lady that walks her dog all the time?
Yep, that's her.
And I said, yeah, that's probably her.
My son is an attorney here. And so after a couple of years, he goes, Mom, you're Oshkosh famous.
Oh, facts.
And it's the writing. It's words. I don't have my value is in my words. It's in the life I've lived. It's in the tragedies that I've taken and figured out how to make something out of it. But for me, it's through those words. So Facebook, any of those online social media platforms, they were like made for me because I use words, and most people don't use words. They have a different gift.
Well, what I will say is, for the short time that you've been here, you contribute a lot, and you're super active.
I am very, very active. Now, we met first on the Diversity and Equity Committee.
Yes, we did.
And that was a unique situation because we never met in person.
Nope.
Because it was COVID.
Right.
And I shocked Angie, who was the then chair at the time, because when we finally met in person, but we had to wear masks.
Right.
And Angie said, "Oh, it's so nice seeing you," because I had never met her in person.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Yeah, but it's weird." She goes, "I know, masking, right?" I said, "No, that's not the weird part." She goes, "What is?" I said, "I'm at a DEI committee without a glass of wine." Because
Bruh.
I used to say to Gary, my husband, "Oh my gosh, it's Monday. These meetings are so long. Can you go to Aldi's before the meeting so I have my wine?" I know. And she was like, "Did not just say
Wait a minute now. I'm not going to say, I will neither confirm nor deny if I might have been having a libation myself during some of
I'm
those.
confirming it. Those are some long meetings. 2.5 hours is way too long. But anyway, that's how I met you. So I'm really glad to be here.
Oh, no, I'm very excited. Let me ask, if you weren't currently doing what you're doing now, what would you really like to be doing?
That was a really good question. And the answer is I would do a variation on this same theme. If I wasn't doing exactly what I'm doing now, I would be a full-time speaker. I'm one of those people who can command an audience of thousands. The more butts in the seats, the happier I am. So that's what I would do is I would go back. And I used to do this. I used to travel a lot for business. And I used to speak to those groups. I would kick that up. I would do that again. And I would write more books of lots of different topics. I love communicating, teaching. You can tell I'm a teacher at heart. My degree was in education. I taught in Africa. I taught English as a second language. I lived in Mali, West Africa, to high school students. Worked a lot with junior achievement, teaching entrepreneur classes. I love affecting change through story, through words. So that's what I would do. So it really wouldn't look that much different than it does now. It would just look bigger.
So I got to ask, lots of people talk about, I should write a book or I want to write a book, but you wrote a book. What's that like? Like to actually, what does it take to actually come get that out of your head and actually produce an actual tangible product?
That's a really great question. And when you give me one of the prompts, I'm going to talk about a class that I'm creating, and it is exactly this. I'm not going to teach you how to write.
Right.
I'm going to assume that you have basic rules of grammar, you have some imagination, you have some stories. We're going to assume that. But what I'm going to teach, because there's such a need, is exactly what you asked. How do you write a book? How do you sell your book? Do you become your own publisher? Writing a book is like anything else. You know that old how to eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Right.
That's how you do it in a book. I have written, this is going to be my 12th book. So
Wow.
Bruh.
So here's what I do. I take all the crap that happens in my life and I monetize it. Because if I had to go through being an abused spouse, single parent, caregiver, whatever it is, when I'm ready, and that's the key, when you're ready, when you're sufficiently healed, when you've gone through it, then you want to help others who are going through it or help them not to ever make the mistakes you made so that they won't go through it. Then I'm like, okay, how do I monetize this? Monetize this through writing a book, through a series of speaking engagements. I get paid for what I went through. That's as simple as it is for me. Now, fiction's going to be different. And it's such a humongous topic of how do you write a book. I always start with the book proposal. I have been published by Random House and other illustrious publishers, and I've also published myself. I make more money doing my own thing, treating it as a business. But regardless of whether I'm selling it to a publisher or myself, I always do a book proposal, which is really your book's resume and the marketing plan, the idea, how you're going to reach your people. And I have been rejected by the best publisher I know, and that is me. I rejected a lot of ideas because if it isn't going to make me money, I'm going to move on. Now, money is not my motivator necessarily, but money is proof that people are at least buying my words, that my words are touching lives.
Right.
So, but I'm working on that. Got to work on getting that out. Okay. There's a lot of bad information on how to do it. A lot of bad books. A lot of bad books.
Facts.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready to jump in?
I am.
Okay. First segment is called What in the World is Going On With? That's where you start with the phrase, what in the world? And then you tell us what is on your mind. Carmen, what do you got?
We're going to go back to dogs because
Yes.
dogs are sort of everything I do. I have a book coming out May 1st. I figured what better way to celebrate being 70. Now, this is when you say 70? You don't look 70.
Wait a minute.
Bruh.
That's what I'm going to give you. That's what 70 kids.
Yeah. So my birthday is May 1st.
Okay.
So book number 12 comes out. It's called When Love Wags a Tail. And it's just a wonderful compilation book. I interview people from all over the country. But this book is really fun because every story I tell is from a person over 50. What can dogs do for you when you are going through changes in this last third or quarter of your life? If you have lost your job, you're divorced, you're a widow, your circle is shrinking. Your kids are gone. Maybe they've moved across country. You downsized your house. How can a dog get you through all of those life changes? So that's really a fun book that's getting back from the editors next week. So we'll do all the edits. I have a cover design already. I'm working on the marketing. And so the dogs. But when I first moved here, I think it was 2018 maybe, I went to the State of the City address. And so I met Mark Roloff and we were having, introducing myself. We're having a little chat. I've been a dog owner for a nanosecond. And he said to me, she probably doesn't remember, he asked me, how can we get millennial persons of color to move to Oshkosh? I said, well, first of all, thank you for noticing I'm a millennial. What an odd question. Why would you ask me this? I mean, I'm still,
Bruh.
I've never forgotten that.
Oh.
And I said, Mark, that is not your question. Your question is, how can we get people of value to move to Oshkosh? You really shouldn't care about the color of their skin. You should care about what they bring to our community to add a richness and an excitement and intelligence and volunteer spirit and all those things. And if some of them happen to be persons of color, good for them. But that's not what you're looking for. I said, the motto used to be Oshkosh, city on the water. Oh, come on, you're in Wisconsin. There's a lot of that. And then you had another one that was called the Event City, which said to me, come, get drunk, see a concert and leave, and don't leave your money. I said, I don't think that is a good brand. I think Discover Oshkosh is a much better brand. But I said to him, if it were me and I was running a city and coming up with how to bring people in, I would make a decision what I want to be. And like them church preachers, I would name it, claim it. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I got a dog. And I realized I've never lived in a more dog unfriendly place in my life. It's not a great place to be a dog owner or a dog. I said, so why don't you just do this? Why don't you say, Oshkosh, the most dog-friendly city in Northeast Wisconsin? And then make it happen. Have multiple dog parks. Have receptacles for the poop. Give out free poop bags. Talk to your merchants downtown. Invite them to put water bowls out. Make it easier for places to have patio dining. I will tell you, at the rent that you guys are charging, you guys meaning developers, for living above the co-op, some of these newer style apartments that are happening, a 2-bedroom for $1,800, $2,000, those people have dogs because they sure can't afford kids. Right?
Facts.
Right? They can't afford kids. Dogs are their life. They run home for lunch to let Poochie out, and there's no place to take them. There's no place. And he looked at me and he goes, I said, I'm not saying you need that idea, but honestly, that's not a bad idea because that's going to bring you millennials. That's going to bring you millennials who understand the value of a dog, but dogs are costly.
They are.
Your
They're
vet
not cheap.
care, your food, but the commitment that people have with their dogs is the kind of commitment you want them to have to their city.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, when people look, I've got a person in my home who was anti-dog. It took us 20 plus years until I got my spouse to say yes.
Yeah, well, it took brain damage for me, so there we go.
Yeah. And finally, we get this dog, and now you know who her best friend in the world is?
Good dog.
Oh,
your wife?
Wait, no, Bosco the podcast dog. That is her ride or die. He follows her everywhere. He's got her back. The minute now when I come home, he just sits in the window like, oh, that dude is home. She comes home. Oh, it's pacing. I got to grab my toy. I got to squeak. He runs to the door. He paces back and forth. Like, it's like, Mama's home.
Yeah. Happy dance. That's how my dog is with me. He is definitely my dog. So, it doesn't have to be that, but you ask what's on your mind. And obviously I write about dogs. I speak about dogs. I fundraise for dogs. And I stress about dogs, the dogs that are off leash in this town. I have a healthy fear of dogs. I have been rushed before by dogs many years ago as a kid. My kid's dog, who I couldn't stand that dog, but that's not her whole story. Golden Doodle, couldn't stand the dog. But he got rushed. He got a puncture wound from a dog and almost died. We had to do a lawsuit. And so I have a healthy fear of dogs, which I think when you think about it, all dogs are 99% wolf. We better have a healthy fear. There's no such thing as my dog is friendly.
Well, you got to have a respect of him.
You have to have respect. So, and I just dog poop. I don't know, people. I don't know. I don't get it. So while I love the idea of a community that is dog friendly, it's going to take more than my saying, let's make it happen. We're going to have a plan. But I think it's a good plan because I know we have great dog owners as well.
Yes, we do.
Who deserve more than what we're getting.
Yes. People that love their dogs.
Oh, okay. Segue. Have you been to Bark and Brew?
No.
Oh, Disneyland. Bark and Brew is up in Green Bay. It is a doggy bar that allows people. So when you walk in, you relinquish your leash and your dog is off leash inside the bar, anywhere they want. They sell very expensive drinks because that's kind of like how they make their money.
Yeah.
And it kind of weeds out the $2 a bud dog owners.
Right.
That can be out there. But they have a big, huge outside in the nicer weather, and they have food trucks and they have events. In the wintertime, we usually go up maybe twice a week, all the way to Green Bay, so I can hang out with my dog. And other like-minded, really good dog owners.
That is a great concept.
Yeah. If I have the money, that is the only business that I would start. But it took her about 2 years to convince their city council to give her a liquor license for that. And the insurance is through the roof.
Because of the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But she did it. And she's making money hand over fist.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Moving on.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay. My what in the world is going on with is, what in the world is going on with Bosco the podcast dog trying to smoke us out of our recording session yesterday?
Bruh.
And now when I say smoking us out, so, when we create the Kosh, it's a weekend recording, right? And usually record Saturdays and Sundays, or just a Saturday or just a Sunday. But so yesterday I had a guest, and I don't want to say who the guest is because we'll leave that alone. And then, but fantastic guest. Bosco is just sitting here, and the space, this incredible recording space we come in, is still a smaller space with not a lot of ventilation.
I know where this is going.
Oh yeah. And so why did Bosco the podcast dog decide that he's got the worst case of gas ever and he's just smoking the room out? Now, here's the worst thing. When that's going on, first of all, it's silent, but it's deadly.
SBDs.
That's right. And I know me and my guests both are looking at each other like, what in the world is going on here? Right. But I know who it is because I know that smell.
Yep.
but he's smoking us out. And wait, here's the thing. He didn't do one.
Oh.
He did about 3.
And they linger.
And he hung out. Here's the thing. Normally he'll do it and and then he leaves, right? And so then you got time to fumigate. He didn't fumigate. He decided, I'm going to stay here for the entire episode and I'm going to smoke these people out this room.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I'm like, Bosco. And here's the worst thing. So we're recording, right? You can't break like recording. Because we're trying not to, we want it to be a good episode. That's right. So we're trying not to, but I'm dying.
And trying not to laugh.
Oh, yeah.
I would be dying.
Oh, yeah. I was dying. I'm dying. And so, we took a break in the episode and I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, hey, that's Bosco. My man he must be all gassed up. I apologize for what's going on here. And they were like, oh, yeah, no problem. But they're probably looking at me like, was it really Bosco or was that you?
Really.
I think you're trying to blame it on the dog, which is the worst, right?
Bruh.
Oh, man.
He who smelt it, dealt it.
Facts, right? Because here's the worst thing. I almost didn't want to say nothing because then it's like you're automatically assuming guilt.
Yep. He who smelt it, dealt it.
So, yeah. So, needless to say, I've learned some things about Bosco the podcast dog, which is, for one, when Bosco doesn't eat well, we mix a little pumpkin in his food because then he'll eat it, right? Just to keep his stomach from being upset on an empty stomach. No pumpkin for Bosco before recordings is what we have learned because apparently the pumpkin just sets the gas on fire. He could have lit a grill the way that man was going on in here.
I think it's hilarious that you said to me, what's going on? I go, dogs. Perfect segue. And for your listeners, neither one of us knew what the other was saying. So that cracks me up.
Oh, yeah. No. This is, I spend the morning on recording day trying to figure out what in the world is going on with. But I knew this morning.
Oh, yes.
Because he smoked us out.
But you didn't know my what in the world's going on had dogs as well.
No, I did not.
There we go.
So there we go. All right. We're ready for the next segment. Are you ready?
I am. We're always ready.
Okay. Next segment is called 21 Questions. Of course, there's not 21 questions, but these are really good in-depth questions, and maybe they'll create 21 answers. First question, Carmen. What are you grateful for?
I am grateful for a roof over my head. We were talking before the recording started, and, I've had this big life. And one section of my life was when I was married to someone else who had a terminal brain disease called Huntington's. And we ended up moving to Florida, thinking it would be more affordable. It was not. Thinking they'd have better health care. They did not. And the only way I could get this poor man into a nursing home was to divorce him. I did not want him to know he was divorced. So I did it through the social worker, and I took on all the debt. When you don't have insurance, the debt just doesn't end. And my kids at the time were 13, 14. They thought it was good to eat like every day, like many times a day. And so I'm just debt upon debt upon debt. When he finally passed away, I filed bankruptcy. I lost my home. I lost everything I had doing the right thing, taking care of someone. I became his legal guardian when I wasn't his wife. He never knew. But that specter of homelessness with my boys was never, ever far away. When we moved back to Hawaii, when I remarried, I wrote a letter that I attached to every rental application. Because ain't no landlord want to rent to you when you bankrupt.
Facts.
And I explained what had happened, those words again. Every place I applied for said yes, even with a bankruptcy. So when we got in this car wreck, I'd only been 10 years to rebuilding my life. Luckily, I had a good job, and luckily, I was putting in 30% in my 401k, which is a huge amount to put in. But I had a lot of catch up because, you're starting from below zero. I thank goodness that when we moved, I had enough in my 401k to buy a house and to continually fix this house. I live right on the same street as you, and I'm across the street from Day by Day. I volunteer there. I lobbied to have it there. I know many of the guests. There's not one day that I just am not grateful for having a roof over my house. Yes, the bank owns a big portion of it, but I said, when I buy a house, I have to be able to pay for it with just my own Social Security. I don't care what the bank says. I can get more. I got a modest home in a modest neighborhood, and we will always have a roof over our head. That is what I'm thankful for.
What motivates you?
What motivates me? Being a good person. I'm always looking for ways that I can be kind. I think kindness is in such short supply. And so that motivates me. When I get up each day, what can I do to make somebody else's life better? I cannot fix all the problems in the world. But if I can give you a smile, if I can compliment you on your dress, if I can volunteer, if I can cook and take it to the shelter, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Most things I do are not big, but that motivates me to be able to, when I go to sleep, to know I made a difference in someone's life. That if I wasn't there doing that exact thing that day, their life wouldn't have been as good. That's what motivates me.
What grounds you?
Same thing. Looking for opportunities to be kind. Knowing that because I exist, my community's better.
What does success look like to you?
Success, that place to live, that food to eat, having enough that I can ask people to come over and share with what I have. I think my biggest success is I raised really good human beings. I didn't just make human beings. Making human beings is the easy part, fun part, but I raised good humans. And my grandkids are turning into such good humans. That's success to me.
What irritates you?
Stupid people. I don't mean uninformed people, just stupid, selfish, self-motivated people who cannot see outside of themselves. We're going to go back to dogs. Off-leash dogs and poop on the ground they're currently my biggest pet peeve because it's so easy to fix. So easy. But people.
What scares you?
Driving. I hate driving. I did not get my license till I was 24. Now that's very old in America to get a license. But in all fairness, I have 7 siblings and 3 were older. And my mother had 1 car. What were the odds of me actually getting a car when I was 16 with 3 older siblings? And then I went to college town where I walked everywhere. And then I went to Africa. Now in Africa, I had a moped and there were a couple stoplights. I lived in the capital city. There were a lot, but it was very funny because there's an assumption that all Americans can drive, right? So because Molly was 95% illiterate, they wouldn't give you a written test. We played a board game like Monopoly. So you would roll the dice and you'd pick up the card and it would tell you the stop you had to make. And so it was kind of a weird driver's test. But because they assumed every American could drive, I was given an international driver's license, good to drive anywhere in the world. I had never driven me on the wheel. So yeah, I've had a couple of really bad wrecks and I'm really scared of driving, but I can drive and I'm a safe driver. I'm just scared. The other thing that scares me is I'm super claustrophobic. Really. When I was 19, I had my thyroid removed. And as they were sewing me up, I woke up during surgery as they were finishing up and I know, right? And I saw my face and they're needling. And then I had a panic attack and it was one of those, code red, and the crash carts and the Grey's Anatomy moment. And so I'm really claustrophobic. Ask me how much I love masks. Yeah.
What recharges your soul?
We talked about this morning. Being surrounded by beauty, laughter, reading, music. My dog. But the big thing is music. It is beauty. Beauty comes in different forms. You ever see this guy with a hot chick and you're thinking, really? Really?
Bruh.
And that girl just worships him, and he is the most handsome person, the most beautiful person in her world. And I don't see it. You don't see it. Doesn't matter. We don't have to see it. She does. And he does. It's the same thing with our surroundings. I grew up in Kansas, not the most beautiful state in our 50 states. There are parts real flat, not a lot of trees. I am so blessed to have been to all 50 states. I lived in Brazil, lived in Africa. But then I found Hawaii, and Hawaii just spoke to my soul. I love the ocean. I am sorry, a lake is not an ocean. I love mountains. I just love the beauty, the diversity, every color of the rainbow, of the people, looking at people who look like me. And I didn't do a lot of research about coming to Wisconsin. We were here for 1 week and then made this snap decision to buy this house. Had I done any research, there's a good chance I wouldn't be here. It's not the most beautiful place in Wisconsin. I'd probably be over by the Mississippi, or I might be in Minnesota. But so I have to always find beauty, and I need to make beauty, because beauty really does ground me. And so I'm having to learn to look at what is beauty and change my definition of beauty.
How do you define love?
I don't know if you've ever read the book or heard of the book, The 5 Love Languages.
Mm-hmm.
So I define love when someone knows my love language and then they're dedicated to using my language to express love. You can tell me you love me. I love acts of service. That's my love language. Bring me flowers and I will probably say, you spent $48 on what? They're going to die. It does not know. I don't even like chocolate. Okay. But my love language is acts of service. Do something for me. My husband's love language is meaningful, non-sexual touch. He always wants to be touched. He wants to be reassured that way. So now I know his language. Now we all love all the languages, but my primary one is acts of service. So if you love me, you know enough about me to know my language, and you're going to use it. That defines love to me.
Last question. What is the most memorable life lesson you've learned from your parent, guardian, mentor?
That's the easiest question of the day. My mother always said to her 8 kids, be the best you can be, and then help others be their best selves. That's, I don't, probably when I was 3 or 4 years old, that was preached into us. And all 8 of us, remember, I was born in 1954. We lived in, they ain't no ghetto neighborhood is here in Oshkosh compared to where I lived.
I try to tell people that all the time. There are no hoods in Oshkosh.
No, there ain't no hoods in Oshkosh. Okay. There was a hood where I grew up. I've never gone back for my high school reunion because so many of the people I would go back to see are in prison or dead. It was that kind of neighborhood. The home that I grew up in got condemned. It doesn't exist anymore. It's not a place. I had a great childhood in some ways, but in other ways. So you would think being a single mom with 8 kids living in the ghetto, there might have been some drugs, there might have been some jail. Nope. I got brothers who are preachers and teachers, and everybody's career path has gone the way of being your best self and helping others to be their best selves. So that's my life lesson from my mom.
Thank you. Okay. We're ready to jump into the next segment.
Yes.
The next segment is called Word Association. This is where we say a word to you, Carmen, and then you tell us what comes to mind. And we have a tradition here on the Kosh. We start with the same word every time. The word of unity, the word that bonds us all. The word of community as a matter of fact. And that word is food.
For me, food is another of my love languages. I love preparing food for people so we can be that community. We can enjoy. Love that. Another word when I think of food is I think, oh my gosh, we need diversity. We need so much more different kinds of food here. I don't need another burger, another brat, another cheese curd. I need it fried. So things are changing little by little, but food to me is community. It absolutely is community.
Facts. You got to play. Do we got a favorite place here in the Kosh?
I like Manilla, probably because it just reminds me of home, and I think they do a really good job. I like selected food. Like I love the cheese curd, not the cheese curds, the cauliflower at Rubiao.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hanger is consistent. If you like that, if you want that kind of food. Favorite Mexican is Los Tres Amigos. They have the best beef soup. Oh, spicy. They make really great jalapeno margaritas.
Mm.
We are working really hard on a dry 2024. Not for health reasons, that it definitely helps, but because we are replenishing our travel fund because our house has sucked it dry. And next year's our 25th anniversary. We want to go someplace nice.
Okay.
So we're going to give up buying a lot of extra booze so that we can put that in the travel fund. What else do I like? I don't know. I'm surprised there's not a real Italian place here. So that surprises me but those are things I can cook. Oh, I miss seafood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Really miss seafood.
I bet.
Really miss seafood. And I mean, I understand the logistics and why it isn't. It's very costly, even when you live someplace by the sea. Here, it's just not going to happen. No. My dad's from New Orleans, too, so I got real spoiled.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a New Orleans girl. So.
Next words. Cocktail or beer?
Wine. And it's usually $3.45 from Aldi. I am not a wine snob. I'm sorry. Here's the deal. I know the economy has taken a hit because I moved here. It was $2.89. Now it's $3.45 for winking out.
Let me tell you
that's a big hit.
Wait, that wine at Aldi's, don't sleep on that now. That stuff is good.
I mean, honestly. I cook with it all the time, and I don't know, man. I'm not a wine snob, but man,
there's nothing snobby to me. Look, that's quality. Look,
I think it is.
I think it's quality wine. This juice that I used to have a routine that every Sunday morning I'd crack one, and that was the thing for the day. We got through that.
I know.
And it, I think they had a pineapple one that was kind of fantastic. But nonetheless, yeah. Okay, Aldi's wine.
Yeah,
big shout out to that. Shop local.
Life goal, no matter where I am. People will say, well, if you really want diversity, you can go to Milwaukee. I don't want to spend my money in Milwaukee. I don't want to take a day trip just so I can spend money and not support local business. I may not get everything I want, but there will be a lot of things I want that I can get locally. Our house was built in 1875. I only use local contractors, and I've used a lot. I only shop, for the most part, at local resale shops, consignment shops, antiques. I want to support local. And as I mentioned earlier, I write a lot about local businesses because that is who I am. Always has been. Yep.
Concert.
Oh, my gosh. That's a big old question. Best concert. One of the best concerts I ever saw was in Hawaii. It was, ready? Billy Joel, Elton John, together on one stage.
That seems
two
like
pianos.
That seems like a lot going on.
Oh, and they were so gracious with each other. They played each other's songs. They did duets. I mean, it was a fantastic concert. Worst concert? Diana Ross.
What?
It was about maybe 10 years ago.
Oh.
I really wanted to be happy. It was not a good expenditure of money, time, or effort. Really good concert of an act in that same age group. Did you go see Gladys Knight when she was here?
Yeah, most definitely.
That was a great concert.
It was a great concert.
She kept her voice. She was gracious. She was kind. Her band was
on fire.
Another great concert. The Oshkosh Chamber Singers, of which I'm a member, in 2019, before the world fell apart, we went and sang Mozart's Requiem in Vienna.
Oh.
That was fun. That was really fun. And let's see. Oh, but my favorite concert now, Oshkosh Jazz Festival.
Oh, okay.
It's all these mini concerts. Have you been?
Oh, of course.
Love the Jazz Festival. I love it so much. Last year I had eye surgery on Thursday from this car wreck. I look like me and Mike Tyson got into it. I wore my sunglasses and I went to the concert on a Saturday. I ain't gonna say I wasn't tired when I got home. I said, I'm not giving up this. Not giving up this.
Oh, it's a good concert.
It is a good concert.
It was Take 6.
Yeah.
It was a great concert.
Yeah,
I like it. You know what I like about it? It's just so free flowing. Like I just bring my lawn chair, I put it in the middle of Main Street, and then we just kick it. And then you're gonna see everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I've been going. Were you there last year when it rained?
The year before?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was awesome. We went to the Grand did opening that up, and
it was still good.
It was fantastic.
It was still a great concert.
And oh my gosh, the host, he was so funny. I had no idea that he was anybody except Jay Peterman from Seinfeld. He was hilarious. And it was really fun.
Yeah. No, I do think that is a really top-notch Oshkosh event.
It is. And the other thing I love now that they're doing is the free concerts in the square on Wednesdays.
I've never gone to one of those.
So not everyone is a home run. There's some that I'm like, but the fact that they do it, they're supporting local artists, and you can just, go buy food, bring food. I can bring my dog. I usually, I make a quiche and a salad, and we got a little Aldi's wine, or we go down and, pick something up from one of the shops on Main Street. I just think it's a wonderful bonding. Again, you see a lot of people that you haven't seen.
Right.
And it's cool.
I like the one in Menominee Park, that concert. You ever go there?
Which one?
There's one, I want to say it was Wednesday night. It was Blues and Brews or something along that line.
I don't go to those because I am extremely claustrophobic. I don't do people. I don't go to the farmer's market. I don't go to the herd. I have a whole list of don't go. And it's not that they are not wonderful. It's a survival tactic.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I know my limits. So I miss out on a lot of stuff. But I have to, because once I get a headache, like I pay a price for going to Jazz Festival. So I have to plot my whole life out for the next week. I can't book anything for 3 days after the Jazz Fest because I will have such a headache.
Right.
So while I think I can't go to the Leech. Good news is I have a backyard and I hear every concert for the Leech.
Yep.
So it's great. So I have parties there. Like when the Beach Boys came, we had a Beach Boys party and we eat and drink and have fun. And so I have a perfect house for the Leech because I can't physically be there because of the noise.
Too much.
Yeah. But, you do what you can. But I think that's one of the areas of beauty in Oshkosh is, besides the architecture, which I just love, old houses and buildings, we have the beauty of the murals and now the music. Just, I love living in a community that is trying to do more for the arts.
We are trying.
And I have seen changes. In the 7 years I've been here, I've seen growth. Is it fast enough for me? No. Is it exactly what I would do? No. But it's coming around.
Due to the fact that I've got over 30 here, we've come a long way.
Yep.
We have come a long way.
Yes.
And I celebrate all the changes.
Yes.
Streaming.
Growing up in that house with all them people and instruments and noise, I love quiet. I don't write with music. I get this all the time. What music do you listen to when you write? Nothing. But we cut our cable. So we do stream all of our movies and we stream TV shows and we use Fire Stick and probably breaking a million laws and whatever. But I never watch anything. I start my TV viewing with Jeopardy every night at 6 and then a couple hours and that's it. So I don't do a lot of streaming. But
no other types of streaming, ebooks, podcast.
I do podcast. Those I do. When COVID happened, I got really scared that the library would shut down because my library is my life. Growing up in that house and growing up in Kansas, a state that I didn't particularly love, and we were super poor, so we never went on vacations. And we both read for last week up to Read Your Heart Out. And the room that I was in happened to have a mat that was the American, all the states. Mm-hmm. And so I said, wherever you're sitting, I've been there. And the kids were like, have you been to Ohio? Have you been here? I said, don't even ask, because the answer is yes. I've been to all 50 states, which they thought was cool. I said, but before I started getting in cars and buses and trains to go to states, I went to every state because I went to my library. And I could read, I could travel around the world with books. And that's how I started my presentation. And I did. So that's, I don't know where I was going with that, but books are so important. They were so important that I would get a book. Somebody would mail me to Africa. We had no electricity where I lived. We had no running water. I had no toilet. I had to chop wood, make my food. I mean, it was, hardcore. And so I would ask that people send me batteries because I had a flashlight, and we'd sleep outdoors because it was so hot in the mud hut. And there's me on the roof under the stars with my flashlight reading. Books are important. So when COVID happened, I thought, oh my gosh, the library shut down. I better get a Kindle. And I got a Kindle. My husband loves that Kindle. Because with a brain injury, I still have to limit the amount of screen time I do. And it just isn't for me. So if I'm going to use my screen time, it's going to be creating words for myself, not reading other people's words. So I was so happy when they did drive by and pick up your book at the library, because books are my thing.
Entrepreneurship.
Da, 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 da. So what your listeners may not know about me is last year I started teaching eSeed. And eSeed is an entrepreneurial series of 10 workshops offered through Fox Valley Tech. I was tapped by their executive director of the Venture Center. I met her at a book signing. She bought my book, and she liked the book. And then she said, let's have lunch. And her ulterior motive was, I think you should teach for us. And she didn't know that years ago, I was an adjunct professor for University of Hawaii, teaching things like this. I know, it just kind of come full circle, right?
Full circle. And
so I've taught 3 classes now, but she tapped me specifically to teach this in Oshkosh. They have it they have a Zoom version. They have one in Watoma. They have one I think they've had one in Neenah, but Appleton is where they're located. So I just finished my Oshkosh class. I'll do another 2 classes this year, one summer, one fall. And it's wonderful. It's how to grow, start, grow, or scale a business. And it's every single thing about business. The end game is by the end of these 10 weeks, you will have a working business plan, a roadmap for yourself, all the way up to taking it to a bank and saying, I want to buy a building, because whatever your needs are. But we have guest speakers that come in, share their entrepreneurial journey, people who really can show you, what does business structure look like? What does accounting look like? What can you earn if you're on Social Security? The list kind of is endless. And so it's a really fun. Classes are small, no more than 15. Mine was 8, which is a great size. A lot of brainstorming, a lot of really fun ideas. So love that. And I have 2 ideas that I'm going to be talking with the Venture Center about. One of them, because whenever I tell people I write books, I want to write a book. Can you help me? Do you ghostwrite? How do you do that? I don't want to be a book consultant. So we're talking about my writing a curriculum with the understanding that we think you actually have good rules of grammar to begin with. Like you could write a book.
Right.
This course, I don't know what it's going to look like in terms of number of weeks, number of hours, but it will cover everything from idea to finding a publisher, being your own publisher if you choose to do that, how to market it, how to monetize it, and everything in between. And so I'm real excited and to hopefully partner with them.
I'm really excited
And-
because I might be in it. No.
Yeah, well, and the cool thing, and here's what I love about being an entrepreneur, I will still own the copyright on all I do. I am just allowing them to market the course and me, but I could then put that on a podcast, or I could teach it on Zoom. I can teach it anywhere in the world, which is pretty cool to be able to reuse your words over and over and over. And then the second thing that I'm real excited about, we're meeting about my writing a book that will talk about the immigrant entrepreneurial experience. Every one of us in our country came from an immigrant. Even those who came unwillingly were immigrants. Our entire country, from our government structure to the buildings, to the railroads, to the trains, to every business you think of, started because of an immigrant or an immigrant's descendant. You agree?
I was trying to think of if there was something to disagree with, but no, I can't. I can't think of it at the moment. It makes sense.
So as we, and I don't, if you read my post, if you talk to me, I rarely talk about politics, religion. I have opinions. You will probably not know my opinions, and that's okay. You don't need to. We need to be kind. We need to make our world a better place. Understanding we're going to agree to disagree on certain things. So I'm not going to here to talk about immigration policies, but I am here to tell you that when people bring their culture, their experiences, their businesses, their likes and dislikes to a new country, ultimately, after all the rough edges kind of smooth out, we are better people for it.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if you've read a lot of business books, but they're usually very boring.
No, I have not.
Business books tend to be the same information presented in a different way, not necessarily stimulating and exciting ways. That's my opinion for whatever it's worth. I want to write, and this is from my new book. Stories are like seeds we plant in the soil of our lives. We tell stories. We spark a connection. Pretty much everything I learned about dogs, about gardening, and even about life in general came from someone telling me a story. I want to write a business book with those core principles that we all need to start and thrive in a business. You cannot exist if you don't follow the rules of business. You have to have structure. That's just the way it goes. But if I can tell the stories of 10 successful northeastern Wisconsin immigrants who have a business.
Yes.
I think that is a new and exciting way to tell a story.
I think it's super relatable.
I want to tell their stories. There are people who have difficulty with change. I get it. It doesn't matter if you have difficulty. We as a nation are changing. The color of our skin is becoming more and more. It was interesting living in Hawaii where there is no majority race, but the minority race are white people. And that was a really interesting place to live where you just saw brown more often than any other color. And whether people like it or not, change is happening. And it's happening at the entrepreneurial level. Because if I'm a doctor and I come from Ecuador, I'm not going to be able to practice medicine in the United States until I get a license. That is a major hoop to jump through to get a license.
Facts.
So how am I going to take the education I had and I don't want to drive a bus. I don't want to be a garbage man. Maybe I don't think there's shame in that, but why did I go through all this education? But imagine if I was an entrepreneur with a medical degree from Ecuador, and I could say, we don't have any place to do surgeries that are day surgeries. I will open a business and rent my space out to doctors so they can come and do plastic surgery, or they can come and do ingrown toenails, or they can come and do fill in the blank. That's a business. So now you take someone with a medical background, merging it with an entrepreneurship background, bringing in their culture, bringing in work ethic. I think that may work, huh? Right? So change is happening.
Yes.
But when immigrants come and they have so much richness to share, and we don't allow them to do the job they used to do, the path for their financial freedom is usually entrepreneurship. It is not typically working 9 to 5 in an office.
Nope.
And I find that exciting to tell the stories. Were you an illegal immigrant? How did you get that path to legality? And how did you grow your business? Are you a restaurant? Look at Manilla. What a thriving restaurant in Oshkosh. Who would have known we would have a Filipino restaurant in Oshkosh?
No.
But we would be so much poorer if that restaurant wasn't there. What they do in our community in terms of donations and sponsorships, and that's really cool. So I'm excited to hopefully partner with the Venture Center for these 2 different projects. And for your listeners, if you are at all intrigued by starting a business, growing a business, eSeed happens throughout the year. There's a Zoom version, so people from all over the country take that right here in Wisconsin. And then there's the in-person. But for those of us who are over 50, the AARP has a grant I was telling you about, and that means the class is free. So you can email Timber and he can get that information to me and I can communicate with you, or you can just go to Fox Valley Tech eSeed.
What we can also do is we can put that connection in the podcast.
I definitely will. I will, because I just think there's so many people who can benefit. First of all, the class isn't that expensive anyway, but free is a better word. And they also have a scholarship for veterans. So if you're a vet and you want to start a business, it ain't gonna cost you nothing, which is also really good, because we want people to know whether it's a hobby business and you're getting a great tax write-off and earning enough, to pad your travel fund, or you want to give that money. Like, I give a large portion of what I earn. I'm in a position now that I get to give it to a charity. I get to give it to Second Chance North, which rescues dogs from Kentucky and brings them up here. That's what I do. I'm not doing it so it's my only form of income. Some people start a business, it is their only form of income. And so somewhere in between, there might be some of your listeners. So we'll get all that information to you.
Yes. Okay. Last word.
Yep.
Diversity.
I was 9 years old in Kansas. And y'all people think you have hot weather? Because you ain't got no trees. They used to have a contest growing up on the radio. Guess how many consecutive days the temperature and the humidity will match. That was actual. No, that was an actual contest. Did that sound miserable?
That don't sound hot.
Really? When it's like 89% humidity and
I don't mean literally hot. I mean, that does not sound enjoyable.
It was not enjoyable. So I remember one day with my 3 older siblings, we wanted to go to the swimming pool. There was one pool at Gage Park, and it was probably 3 miles away. Walk into this pool in this nasty weather, get there, and then there's all the little white mommies and the little white kids, and they're sitting on the bleachers watching the little white kids in the pool. For your listeners who can't see me, I'm brown. And we jumped into play, and all the mommies were like, oh, come. And they were making their kids get out. And we're the only ones left. And that was the first time that I ever felt different, that I ever felt less than. No one said a word to me, but I knew I was not wanted. And I knew I would never go back to that pool. I lived a block from the school that was at the heart of the Topeka, Brown versus Topeka Board of Education. My uncle was one of the attorneys on that case. So we were absolutely right there in the middle of desegregation. But somehow it hadn't touched me until that day in the pool. I swore I would never go back. I never learned how to swim because I was really worried that wherever I went, I wouldn't be wanted. We moved to Hawaii. You're on an island. I made my kids learn how to swim. Life-saving, junior life-saving, whatever. It wasn't until I was 50 that I took an adult learn to swim class. Nobody should be made to feel less than after walking 3 miles in that kind of weather just because of the color of your skin. So when I hear diversity, I think of that chubby kid who looked different, who acted different. I've never been like a cut and paste kid. I'm different. Always been different. And to be made to feel like you're less than, that's why diversity matters. The sad thing is you cannot mandate kindness. You cannot mandate. You can make a law that you can't do this, can't do that. There's all kind of laws. You got to pick up your dog poop. Okay, you can't mandate. You can't mandate. So how do we as individuals bring diversity into our world? I was talking to the chief of police here once, talking about racism, because I'm going to say it. I've never lived in a more racist place than Oshkosh, but that's another whole discussion for another whole podcast. And so he said, how are things going to change? I said, some people are going to have to die. He looked at me. I said, no, I don't have a gun. They're going to have to age out of the system. And hopefully those left behind are not so badly infected that they can't be rehabbed. At some point, some people are going to have to just die. Is it going to happen in my lifetime? I don't know. I think that people who don't feel good about themselves will always target other people who are different than them.
Facts.
And diversity doesn't just mean race.
No.
In my case, diversity has meant size. It has meant lack of money. It has meant looking different. It has meant color. It is diversity.
Medical condition.
Medical conditions. Diversity is everywhere around us. And we have made great strides since that 9-year-old girl tried to get in a pool. Every morning, I go to the Y. I go to our pool. I suck at swimming, but I water walk with the best of them. And I do aerobics, and I am able to be in there and not feel like people are judging me. You know, that's a big thing from being 9 to being 70 almost, and being able to, it took 60 years practically for me to feel comfortable. Isn't that awful?
That is awful.
But it's okay, because feeling that way, being different, has caused me to want to make sure nobody else ever feels that way. And if that's what it took to make me into who I am, so that I can be the best me I can be and help others be their best selves, it was worth it. It was worth it. So, a lot of stuff in diversity.
Very important stuff in diversity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? There was a lot I wanted to say, but I'm just going. I'm just gonna let that sit as it is, because it was that powerful and it was that good.
Thank you.
All right. Next segment. The next segment is called the Kosh Hidden Gems. This is an opportunity for our guests to share a hidden gem with the Kosh listeners. That hidden gem could be something we all know about, but maybe we don't know this detail about it. Or maybe it's something you don't think a lot of us do know about. And it's not limited to here in the Kosh. It could be anywhere in the region or outside of the region. We just take hidden gems.
When you sent that list, the first thing that popped up was something we already talked about, and that's the Jazz Festival.
Mm.
The number of people who have not been there, who never heard of it, is astounding to me. Absolutely astounding.
Facts.
Because it is so well put together. For your listeners who have never been, it's always the last Saturday of the month, about 1 o'clock to about 8 o'clock. They close off, they finish off the farmer's market, another place I can't go because of noise. And Bring your beach chair, bring whatever you want, bring food, patronize the merchants, and just listen to world-class jazz. Now, I always tell people, it isn't that discordant jazz that scares people, because there's jazz and there's jazz. It's really a lot of standards done with a jazz flair.
Right.
More than,
It's not the abstract.
It is not abstract and scary. And I've talked to so many people who say, I don't like that kind of music. And I go, what? You don't even know? No, I don't like jazz.
Right.
Do you listen to this? You listen to that? Oh, yeah, you'll like this. And you know what? You can leave. It's free. You didn't buy no ticket. So that's one. The other thing that is a hidden gem to me are the number of people who have never been to the Grand.
Mm.
They have never been to a concert. They've never done a stand-up comedian. They have never seen a show. Wow. Those tickets are not even expensive.
No.
And there's such a variety, and they do an amazing, amazing job.
They really do.
At bringing world-class talent into an area that is not necessarily known for world-class talent. I mean, that kind of goes back to what I love about Oshkosh is the affordability for shows, for concerts, for things of the arts. That is a hidden gem of Oshkosh, is the fact that they are striving to bring in more and more arts to Oshkosh. And I think I see a lot of success.
At this time, I think we're going to move into a short commercial
All right.
break.
Did you know there are children in the Fox Valley in need of hearing aids, but their parents struggle to provide them because of lack of insurance or high copays? I am Juliette Sturkins, audiologist and board member of Here in the Fox Cities, and proud that this small local nonprofit organization has helped fund hearing aids for some 30 kids. Your donation would help more children hear. Visit hereinthefoxcities.org to learn more and to see their smiles. Every child deserves to hear.
All right, we are back. And once again, I just want to say quickly to my nonprofits out there, at this time, if you reach out to the Kosh, we do, if you are a nonprofit in our region doing community work and you would like a commercial here on the Kosh, it is free. Come in and take advantage of that. It's a pretty cool opportunity. At least I think it's a cool opportunity. And also now is also a great time for us to shout out our sponsor, Sturgeon Spirits Craft Distillery, the Kosh's newest tradition. And once again, don't forget, if you haven't gone there yet, you need to go there. And number one, you need to go check out the Kosh cocktail. Oh, it makes me smile every time. So that is a thing. And you know what, just in case, let's just say you just happen to want to go, but you don't know who you might want to go with. I know a guy who would go to Sturgeon Spirits with you to have a Kosh. That dude, he's got a funny name, might be a little woodsy. Holla at him. Holla at him and he might join you. I'm just saying.
I bet he would.
Yeah. All right. So now is the time for what is my favorite part of the Kosh, and that is story time. And it's an opportunity for our guests to tell Kosh listeners a story. Story can be about absolutely anything. And I feel like, you know what, Carmen, throughout this episode, you have woven in wonderful stories and with texture and character. But you know what? I need one more. So
while we were listening to the commercial and I thought of one. So when we moved here, I knew I wanted 2 bedrooms, at least. I wanted 2 bathrooms. I do not do basements. So I didn't want that little nasty bathroom down in your basement. I needed a laundry room, first floor. I had my little list, and I needed walkability because I hate driving. So that landed us on Otter Street. Perfect location for us. Walk to the Y, walk to the library, walk downtown. It had every tick mark. What I did not do was to look at the yard. That wasn't an issue. When I was growing up, my brother, my oldest brother, his job was to mow the grass. Kevin was always kind of a hustler. And I don't know if it fell off a truck or if he made a deal with somebody, but he ended up getting some weed killer.
Mm.
And if a little bit is good, a lot is better.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
We never had a blade of grass again.
Bruh.
No flowers. Oh, my mother was furious. She was, we had dust season, then we had mud season, then we had snow season, then we had dust, mud, and snow season all at once. That was my yard growing up. That's it.
That was it.
So I did not have an experience in gardening. Then I went to Africa and I had a garden. And it's just as hard as you think to have a garden in the Sahara Desert. We had water once a day, so I had to get barrels and buckets and stuff to carry my water, to save it for bathroom water, cooking water, drinking water, planting water. And then I had to get a mosquito net to put over the garden so that all the bugs and birds didn't eat all my seeds. So I would be in there. Somebody had mailed me melon seeds and green beans and peppers and different seeds. It was the best garden ever. It was also like slave labor. It was so awful being in that mosquito netting. 130 degrees, watering my plants. And I just said, okay, I'm done with that. So gardening wasn't my thing. We moved here. Gardening had to become my thing because I didn't have any money to hire someone. We inherited not a house. We bought a yard of nothing but weeds with the house thrown in for free.
Bruh.
And we discovered that when it snows here and then it melts in the spring, then it freezes again, that we had flooding in our backyard. For 3 weeks when that flooding froze, we couldn't take out our trash because they were stuck to the apron by the garage. That's how bad it was. So now we had to figure out, how are we going to take care of this flooding? And I learned about a grant because I love using other people's money. And this grant came from the Southwest Rotary, where I'm now a member. And that grant was for a rain garden. And it turned out we are the perfect yard. And our whole backyard now is all native plants, which is kind of what I call plug and play. They don't, they crowd out the weeds. And the roots are so deep, some of them down to 6 feet, that it keeps the water in the yard. So I never have to water again. And every year we take out grass, and every year we plant more native plants. And we are creating beauty. You'll have to come over. We'll have to do some eating and drinking and music in our yard.
Say less.
And it is so pretty there. Now, I am not a gardening person at all. However, I guess some people think I am, because last year our house was one of 6 homes on the Oshkosh garden walk.
Oh,
I know. Somebody who doesn't do dogs and doesn't do gardening, and they were both there. So but it was also a drought. It was a year of a drought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Gary would get up and he would water the hydrangea and the plants that needed it. And I would go out front and do weed duty, because we took all the grass out of our terrace part next to the street and replace it with native grasses and plants. Butterflies come and bees come. But it was a first year, so it hasn't grown out. So there was a lot of spurge. Terrible. Oh, and it was so dry. It was like pulling weeds from concrete. So one day I decided to get out there. I would go every morning like 6:30, 7 in the morning when it wasn't quite as hot. And so I get dressed one day and cute little sundress, the crisscross. I'm looking all hot. But you know what? When you're out there, I'm sorry. If you don't like this story, I don't really care because it's my story. But when you're getting all dressed up to go outside and pull weeds, the last thing a woman wants is an underwear bra. They're very painful. All that sweat and everything. So I didn't wear one because it's my house. But I look cute. So I'm there picking my weeds right on Main Street, put them in my bag. Within minutes I hear honk honk. I thought, oh my gosh, People appreciate the beauty I'm creating in Oshkosh. They're so nice for giving me a shout out. And I'm picking. A few minutes later, Hong Kong. Oh my goodness. They are really loving this gardening I'm doing. I'm so proud of myself. I'm going to get a Garden of the Year, a Terrace of the Year award. And I'm picking my weeds. I'm in my zone. Hong Kong. I look down. A girl had escaped. I'm out on the street downtown Oshkosh, flashing pajamas.
Bruh.
So as I'm creating beauty, I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder, because I guess, some drivers like big girls. So there we are. So that's my story.
That's just so.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
I did not see that coming. And that was a fantastic Kosh story.
And you know what? I even have that in my book. One of the things, I love speaking because I love humor. I do a lot of workshops on finding humor in not humor situations. And I love telling stories that necessarily do not put me in a good light, because most people won't do that to themselves. But it's happened to us all.
Oh, fact.
Stuff has happened.
Yeah.
But it makes people laugh. And I always tell the authors, when I do book coaching or when I do marketing training, I will always say people buy from people they like and trust.
Oh, yeah.
Why did we like Jay Leno on The Tonight Show? Because he made fun of himself. Comedians are so good at that self-deprecating humor, at poking fun of themselves, at making themselves every man.
Oh, yes.
Every man. And so I love that style of teaching. I love learning from people who do it and do it well. So this new book, When Love Wags a Tail, as I mentioned, it's for people, everybody in it's over 50. But I took something, I wasn't a dog person and I hate gardening, but every single chapter is based on a plant in my garden. And it's all a gardening thing book. Because when I did that garden walk, my husband sat on the porch with a dog on a leash, and the dog had to say, like your dog, hello, hello, hello. There were 600 people who came through that day. Fully 400 people had to stop and see the dog before they saw the garden. And as I sat there, I'm like, I got to rewrite this book. I don't know. I think I'd write about gardening. So I think it's really funny. We hear the word brand and marketing. So, Kosh, Timber, what is your brand?
A local podcast where you get to know your neighbors.
Okay, we'll work on that. That's what you do, but is that your brand?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just consider the Kosh brand is the Kosh. It's whatever this region is. It's the Kosh. I don't know a better way to say that. I don't know how to actually maybe describe it well.
Right. And that's really important when you come up with your brand. I remember when I was in college, growing up, again, no money. We had to use Prel. We had to use Breck, all the shampoos that were the cheap off-brand. I went to college. I was a freshman. I can remember laying on the floor, looking at the television in the lounge with all the girls, and I saw this commercial. And I was the only person of color in the room at that time. It was a primarily white college. We had some that weren't, but it was almost all. Little private college in Kansas. And so I'm up on my elbows watching, and I saw this commercial, and they have never, ever changed their brand. It was one of the shiny people. The woman with the long hair that I'll never have. It was straight like mine never will be. She could toss her hair. You could see the gloss. And she looked at that camera with her beautiful, shiny self. And she said, L'Oreal, we're more expensive because I'm worth it. I looked at that and I went, I'm worth it. And I redid my budget so I could buy L'Oreal, which was not going to make me white, which was not going to make me thin, which was not going to make me have straight hair. It was maybe shiny. It didn't matter. Someone told me, you have worth. That is a brand.
Hmm.
So
That's good to know.
when we think, that's kind of stuff I teach in my class. So when we look at brand, your brand changes as you change. And when I was doing my website for these new series of books and I'm trying to figure it out, I realized my brand is that I'm a storyteller. Throughout my entire life, whatever I'm teaching, whatever I'm doing, it is always with stories. I'm Coconut's mom. That's my dog's name, is Coconut. And I am a reluctant gardener. That's my brand. That's my brand. And everything that I do, I am always able to weave in all three elements as a way to teach.
Well, if that's the case, maybe my brand is I'm a local connector.
Yep, that's exactly what you are. Because when you limit yourself to being a podcaster, that means you can never write a book. You can never write articles for the Herald. You can never be a speaker. You can't do any of those things because you just told me your brand was being a podcaster. That's not your brand. That is a delivery method. That's all it is. It's a delivery method. So you are a connector. That's what you are a connect. We are connectors.
Facts.
And then we can fine tune that as to how you do it. But at the end of the day, it's like, I can't think of her last name, Frankie, kindness. Her whole platform.
Yeah, Frankie Joe.
Her whole platform is kindness. That's her brand.
That is her brand.
Mm-hmm.
Her brand is very clear.
Yep.
And see.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you liked my story.
I did like your story. Okay. Well, now it's time. It is time. It is that time. It is the time of the show for our topic of the week. Our topic of the week is chosen by our guests 99.9% of the time. And guess what? This week is no different.
I thought you were going to say that. I thought you were going to get me off the hook. Our topic of the week. My topic of the week is a frustration. My topic of the week is there is an inordinate amount of whining about the way our government works.
Bruh.
There is. I read it. I talk to people. The most recent example of that is assessments, street assessments. How are we going to continue to have streets or get better streets without homeowners, property owners having to be charged $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 at a pop? That's not a good way to do it.
Nope.
There's never going to be a way that makes everyone happy.
Nope.
This city decided to have 3 listening sessions. They did one at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was there. 6 o'clock in the evening. And they did a Facebook Live. The purpose of this was 2 weeks ago, was to be able to have people be able to understand the proposal that is going to be put forth in front of the council. I think it'll be in March. Hopefully, they want to give it voted on before the new council, because there's people running, there's an election, come in. This is something that is a huge issue for everybody in Oshkosh. Because even if I just paid $15,000 for my street, that is not the only street that I'm on, right? We all drive on the streets. We all have a vested interest in how it gets paid. None of us wants property taxes increased. They're already too darn high. However, how many people do you think of your listeners felt the need to interrupt their oh so precious time to come to an hour-and-a-half meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the evening or during a lunch hour on Facebook Live? 3 opportunities. How many do you think showed up?
For all the sessions
all
put together?
All combined.
25.
That's worse than it was. No, it was under 50 people. With the inordinate amount of whining and complaining and the things that matter so significantly, get up and go. Educate yourself. Vote. If you do not like our government, vote them all out. If you love the government and you want more of it, vote more people in. I don't like to get political, as I mentioned, and I'm not taking a stand. I'm not even going to tell you the proposal. But if we have to be the change that we want to see. And that change comes with being able to understand why things happen, the past, and what we want the future to look like. If we don't do that, then we deserve what we get.
We've got a thing around here where people like to complain, but no one likes to come up with actual solution.
And I don't, again, with this assessment thing, we are never going to make everybody happy.
Absolutely not. But
you get, honestly, if you don't like it, come up with an idea, because we are a very creative, very smart community. And the answers are not always with your government. The answers can be as simple as, let's make Oshkosh the most dog-friendly place in Northeast Wisconsin. And maybe it'll happen. That's not something I'm advocating for at this point, but you could see how that could make a difference when you get a coalition of dog owners that want a dog park, that want the city to actually do their job in emptying waste baskets. Oh, we can't have waste baskets there because we don't have the staff to empty them. That's an actual answer.
I knew that wasn't made up.
Yeah. So whatever it is that you want your community to look like, make it happen.
I like to remind people that the government is actually the people.
Exactly.
So, seriously, you don't go try to blame your politicians. Most politicians, particularly at the local government level, they will listen to you.
They absolutely listen.
And they will make things happen according to what they hear. It doesn't take many, actually, to move the needle.
I'm going to give you one more story on this topic, is when Day by Day was in their old location that could only host a very small number. They couldn't have anybody with a disability. They had no elevators. They didn't have stove. It was not, it was time. And so long before I came, they had been lobbying, and they were looking at this piece of property. They came to our neighborhood association meeting and said, we want to do this. Most of us walked in with the, not in my backyard. Oh yes, somebody needs them, but not us. We pretty much all left with, yay, it's in our backyard. We really want this. And so when they started to need to go to all the committees, to get zoning changes, to get, all the things that have to happen, they don't have the right to just build. There are all these policies and procedures. So I started going to meetings with very few other people. You have to register to speak. You get 5 minutes. People were just not showing up. So the very last hurdle was with they get that property for $1 or whatever it was. This was a property that had been empty for many, 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 many years. It was an eyesore property. At the 11th hour, a group of people said, oh no, this is the entertainment district. This is already earmarked. It was not an entertainment district. And one of, we're going to do this boutique hotel downtown, whatever. So then I was the last person to speak. I later heard from a council member that she wasn't sure it was going to pass. Most people walked in on the fence. So you had both sides giving their story, why they thought it was good, why they thought it was not good. And I got up, the last person, and I said, at its very core, a boutique hotel is exactly the same as a homeless shelter, transient housing. It's the same thing, right? When you think about it. I said, honestly, I think I'm the only person who deserves a vote because I live there. You don't. So I think my vote is weighted. But earlier this week, it was, I guess it was I don't know the timeline again. Maybe it was February last year or whenever it was. Someone died on Main Street in the 400 block. Remember that? He froze to death.
Yes.
And I said, we don't know if he was homeless. It turns out he was. We don't know if he was turned away from Day by Day. It turned out he was. Not because they were evil people, but because
they were full.
No room in the inn. So this person went and tried to find shelter in front of a building, and he froze to death. The police say there was no foul play. I disagree. And I pointed them out. I said, every one of you, year after year, who has voted no, who is not taking care of our homeless people, is complicit in that man's death. That is foul play. My son, the lawyer, says to me the next day, Mom, you got a target on your back. Why would you say that? I go, because I don't care, because it is true. I said on Sunday, when it was 20 below zero, I went to walk my dog, like I always do. I left my house. I turned left. I went onto Broad. I walked down Broad. To the right is the homeless shelter location. I saw a man or a person huddled in blankets, sitting on the concrete as I'm walking my dog. I get to the corner. My dog poops. Being a responsible citizen, the last thing I wanted to do was take off my gloves and pick that up, but I did, because that's what you do when you have a dog. We turn around to go home. It is so cold that my dog, who wears a fur coat, is racing. I cannot keep up with this dog. He's racing to get back to where it's warm. And as I pass, I look out the eye and I see this figure huddled in blankets on concrete. And I remember going, if it is too cold for my dog, it is too cold for our neighbors. These are our neighbors. And I sat down. And it was when we still had to wear masks. And I don't do masks. I had come just for this purpose. So I left. I wasn't there for the vote. I had no idea until the next day. Following day is when I met the city council member who said, you are the reason we will have a homeless shelter here. I said, oh, I am not. These people have been doing this. She goes, no. What you said could not be disputed because I took the time to physically come several times because I post regularly. They know I'm at a whack job. And because I told a story that gripped their hearts, they voted yes. Now, it could have passed without me. We won't know, will we? So what I tell people, if you do not like what we have, change it. If you like what we have and you want it to continue, be there. Just like people say, we have to patronize local restaurants because if we don't, they're going to close. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But if that's how you feel about restaurants, if you put more passion into a restaurant than you do in your city government, this is a problem. Learn to cook. Learn to cook and then go make a difference in your city government. Yeah, that's my topic because I think that it is, we are at it. We have on Tuesday, we have a primary race.
Mm-hmm.
And then in April, we will have 3 new council members. We will have a new judge. We will have the opportunity to see what does it look like for the next few years. These are not decisions to take lightly. Educate yourself, get involved, go to the sessions, listen to recordings because they're out there. It's just up to everybody. It cannot be fewer than 50 people showing up to make comments and to listen about an assessment that matters to us all.
Facts.
Yep.
All right. So, Kosh listeners, what I'm going to tell you is by the time this episode comes out, we do have an episode with our city manager, Mark, and he's talking about the assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have an opportunity to learn more or hear more about it, even though by then it's voted on.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. At this time, we're going to start winding down this episode. All right, Kosh listeners. Thank you. Thank you for giving us your minds and your ears. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for caring about another member of our community who's making a huge difference. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Within this conversation, we learned a lot of things, and I think we've been put on notice. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Amen. I love that.
Yep, facts. And so, once again, we're a work in progress. We're always trying to be better. We're trying to become the best podcast in the Northeast region, maybe in Wisconsin eventually. Maybe we can make that happen.
I think so.
But you know what? I'm going to set these goals realistic until we hit the first one, and then we'll roll from there. I definitely took some nuggets out of today. How do we become a better podcast? Well, y'all, that's how we become better. So, if you would like to be a guest, if you'd like to recommend a guest, if you'd like to tell us ways we can be a better podcast, reach out to us at askthekosh@gmail.com. Once again, that is askthekosh@gmail.com. I promise you, I receive all the emails, and I'm the one that responds to all the emails. Also, we think we have something super, super special here. We want to get in front of more eyes and ears of our community members. And how do we do that? It's called analytics. That's right, analytics. Take a moment while you're listening to this podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Or if you got a few more moments than that, write us a review. Subscribing and writing reviews is what makes for great analytics, and great analytics is what puts us into the algorithm of our community members where they can learn about this amazing community podcast. All right. So we've got two things left to do. So we're going to do the first one, and that is this. It is time for shout outs.
Oh, I made a list. Every year around this time, I make a list of all the home improvements I've done. It's exhausting in 7 years. And I do a shout out on my Facebook page and often on Support Oshkosh of all the contractors and people who have made my house livable, beautiful, and safe. Because you said, what a one thing you're grateful for. And I said, a roof over my head.
Facts.
That roof, I call it the big list of money suck repairs. And the shout out goes to Duncan Windows and Doors. They did my beautiful giant windows. They did my driveway, my walkway. Nick Keller is my electrician, and he does other home contracting. Dwight Mason did my floors, and Paint It Right did a full interior. Now, I paid them all, but they did such a great job. I keep having them back over and over. Fabulous Finds, the Turquoise Door Oshkosh, and U Bloom. I have so many beautiful interior decorations, cheap because of them, because they're just wonderful. And my last shout out goes to the City of Oshkosh Rehab Loan. We got here into this tumble down house in March. I applied for that loan in June, and by November, I had windows, insulation, furnace, driveway, walkway. At that point, it was a $30,000 loan. Now it's up to $50,000 to improve your home. 0% interest, ladies and gentlemen. Amortized over 15 years. I pay $125 a month, but my utilities went down more than what I pay. So without the City of Oshkosh rehab loan, I would be so far behind. The other shout out goes to Southwest Rotary for that grant, and Oshkosh Helping Neighborhoods, because we're in a recognized neighborhood. I got not one, but 2 grants from them to do landscaping. I replaced my fascia. So everyone says, oh my gosh, your home is so beautiful. I don't really do a whole lot except weed. I just find other people, and then I find other people's money to pay those people. So that's my shout out.
I need to take your class. I'm not going to lie.
I'm not going to lie. I'm really good at what I do.
Well, you done convinced me. I'm taking that class.
All right. There we go.
All right. So take a quick moment. I'm due to the fact that I recorded an episode yesterday. I took care of most of my shout outs yesterday. So today I'm going to keep it really simple. Once again, I'm going to send a shout out to Sturgeon Spirits Craft Distillery. I got to go to their 1-year anniversary. It was fantastic. I love the vibe. I get to take my family there. They all love it. It's just fun. And thank y'all for always being the best to me and my family. They treat me like gold. And you know what? I know they'll treat your family like gold too. So make sure you stop down there and check them out. And then lastly, gotta send a shout out to my wife. Once again, the person who lets me podcast in the house all weekend long. So she makes it work. She makes it happen. I appreciate you so much, baby. I love you. All right. Now, last thing. Last thing is you got 3 choices. And the 3 choices are this: A, B, C. A, Carmen, you get an opportunity to share some parting words of wisdom with the Kosh listeners. Option B, you can tell us, what would yourself today tell your 13-year-old self? Or option C, both, all of the above. You got to have an all of the above when you give choices because, that's what you do.
I would tell my 13-year-old self, you are sassy, you are smart, you are unique, and there's nobody like you that is going to do exactly what you will do to change the world.
Facts. All right. Carmen, thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for having me. How fun is this? I love it.
I don't know. It's the Kosh, right?
It's great.